Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to demystify exactly how we protect the billions, and I mean billions, of smart devices communicating over the internet right now. Whether you're an engineering student currently tinkering with an ESP32 or an Arduino, a cybersecurity beginner, or just someone wondering how safe your new smart home setup really is, you are absolutely in the right place. Okay, let me ask you something. Think about your house for a second. Would you ever leave your front door just completely unlocked and wide open? Of course not, right? Literally anyone could walk right in and mess with your stuff. Well, believe it or not, that is exactly what happens when an IoT, or Internet of Things device, is left unsecured. The only real difference is that the intruders are digital, and the doors they're strolling through are the smart devices connected right to your local Wi-Fi network. We've got some fascinating and honestly pretty crucial ground to cover today. We'll start by looking at this unlocked digital door, then we'll map out IoT protocols and architecture. After that, we'll dive into the major security threats out there, tackle the privacy dilemmas, look at how to actually build secure systems, and finally wrap up with how you can stay safe in 2026. Let's get right into it. Part 1. The unlocked digital door and the massive vulnerability of scale. You know those cheap smart plugs, security cameras, or even smart TVs you can grab online? They're designed to be super easy to set up. But here's the catch. Because manufacturers want to keep costs down and set up simple, these devices often ship with practically zero robust security. We're talking weak encryption or worse, default passwords. Leaving a device's password as admin or 1234 is basically rolling out the red carpet for a cyber attack. These unassuming little gadgets generate vast amounts of highly sensitive data, yet they are the absolute easiest entry points for unauthorized access. They truly are the unlocked doors of our modern networks. Moving on to Part 2. IoT protocols and architecture. Basically, the anatomy of how these devices talk to each other. Now, if you're building a project, say using the Arduino IDE with an ESP8266 microcontroller, picking the wrong communication protocol can totally tank your system. You might automatically default to HTTP, right? Because that's what the web uses. But actually, if you force a tiny battery-powered sensor to use HTTP, it can drain its power up to 10 times faster. Instead, lightweight protocols like MQTT secured with TLS encryption are the gold standard for sensors. They require very little overhead. CoAP is even lighter for deeply constrained devices. Sure, HTTP and WebSockets have their place, but they belong at the gateway or application layer, definitely not out on the fragile edge nodes. Let's think about how this builds into the bigger picture with a hybrid edge cloud model. Data doesn't just sit on a local sensor. It travels. It moves from local edge nodes, which might be predicting machinery failures on a noisy factory floor, up through the network to centralized cloud platforms for heavy processing. And this long journey introduces incredibly complex trust challenges. We absolutely have to ensure end-to-end encryption so that data isn't intercepted, spoofed, or tampered with while it's in transit. All right, Part 3, Major IoT Security Threats. Let's look at the actual attack landscape today. Looking at the data from the 2025 Landscape Report, memory safety issues like buffer overflows and denial of service or DOS attacks are absolutely dominating the attack surface. What this really highlights is a severe lack of basic data validation in IoT programming. When a device receives data it isn't expecting and can't handle it, it crashes. Or even worse, it lets an attacker escalate their privileges and take total control of the system. And here's the wild part. Over 34% of these vulnerabilities hit a 7.8 out of 10 severity score. So we aren't just talking about minor bugs here. These are high-severity flaws baked into everyday connected devices. And that leads us to a frankly terrifying trend, the rapid evolution of the botnet. Attackers are aggressively expanding their router botnets out of simple home networks and into heavy-duty commercial infrastructure. They are actively combining compromised home routers with business hardware, things like EV chargers, smart solar inverters, and industrial controllers. By chaining millions of these hijacked devices together, they can launch massive distributed denial of service attacks with enough bandwidth to completely cripple enterprise operations or even critical city services. Plus, attackers are getting much smarter. They aren't just going after one smart TV at a time anymore. They are moving upstream. The firmware supply chain has essentially become ground zero for hackers. Instead of hacking the device directly, they target the software development kits, the SDKs, and the shared libraries that manufacturers use to build them. If they manage to compromise the over-the-air, or OTA, update mechanism, they can silently push malware to millions of devices simultaneously, all disguised as a legitimate security patch. It makes detection nearly impossible and gives them a long-term foothold in valuable systems.
This brings us to part 4, privacy and ethical dilemmas, because we have to talk about the human impact.
To fight back against silent background tracking and unauthorized profiling, manufacturers absolutely must embrace something called privacy by design, or PBD. This means we have to stop treating security as a band-aid that gets slapped on right before a device ships. Instead, privacy safeguards need to be integrated directly into the system from the very first line of code. It's all about minimal data collection, only taking what is strictly necessary to make the device work, and giving users transparent, granular control over their own data. And the stakes are high, right? Without proper safeguards, smart cities and smart homes can very quickly devolve into networks of mass surveillance. The crucial takeaway here is that legal frameworks, like the GDPR in Europe and the CCPA in California, are finally forcing organizations to step up. These laws guarantee that users actually have the right to restrict access to their personal lives. It's driving a massive industry push toward processing data locally on the device, rather than shipping every detail of your life off to a third-party cloud.
Okay, part 5, building secure smart systems. Let's talk about how we actually defend the castle.
So we're seeing some major shifts in how devices connect globally. Take the new SGP32 cellular standard, for example. On paper, it's great. It promises operator-agnostic connectivity, meaning more freedom. But it can also trigger what experts are calling a DIY delusion. Suddenly, enterprises find themselves trying to act as their own virtual network operators. If they don't know what they're doing, managing those complex technical configurations can spiral into immense technical debt and leave gaping security holes. But it's not all doom and gloom. We've got some incredible defensive innovations coming into play. For instance, we're using blockchain to ensure that stored IoT data is completely decentralized and tamper-proof. Even cooler is federated learning. This technique actually lets us train machine learning AI models right on the edge devices themselves. That means your raw, sensitive data stays safely on your device, and only the mathematically updated patterns are sent to the cloud. Combine that with AI actively hunting for network anomalies, and we've got a seriously formidable defense. And building that defense is non-negotiable for the future. I love this insight from Nick Earl. IoT isn't just about reading a temperature sensor anymore. It's an enterprise's most strategic asset. We are literally laying the groundwork for sentient AIoT, a world where AI agents autonomously manage global supply chains. For those AI systems to work without making catastrophic mistakes, they need clean, dependable data. So having a secure, uncorrupted data stream is quickly becoming the ultimate competitive advantage.
Which brings us to our final section, part 6, staying safe in 2026. Let's get super practical.
Listen, you really don't need a degree in advanced cryptography to make a huge difference here. First, just know what's on your network, do an inventory, and turn off devices you don't use. Second, segment your network. Your smart TV and cheap smart plugs should be on a totally separate Wi-Fi network, like a guest network, away from the laptop you use for banking or coding. Third, patch aggressively. When a firmware update pops up, install it immediately. Don't ignore it. And finally, if you've got old legacy hardware that the manufacturer isn't sending security patches for anymore, it's time to replace it. By following those basic steps, you drastically shrink your attack surface. As billions of these devices continue to weave themselves into the fabric of our homes, our healthcare systems, and our cities, security simply can't be an afterthought anymore. It is the absolute foundation of our connected future. So I'll leave you with this one thought to consider for your own network today. Is your smart ecosystem a fortified castle, or is it just another unlocked door? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you in the next one.